Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly. Thank you so much for joining us across the SJHL social media platforms. Another busy show on tap as we recap almost the entirety of the first round of the playoffs in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We'll also be joined by head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins, get his thoughts on his series against the Laurent Ice Wolves and much, much more. Lots to get into as the playoffs continue to heat up as we bring in our lovely co-host, Jeromy Neugebauer, Rory McGouran. Fellas, how are we doing? How was your week? Busy?
Great week all around the SJHL. Yeah. Of course, congratulations to Battleford's, Humboldt, and Melfort for advancing to the second round. And then also, congratulations as well to Weyburn, Nipawin, and LaRange for a really valiant season, right? Making the playoffs is no easy task.
No, it's not.
Getting to the second is, the next step. So we'll be looking forward to their seasons. Maybe talk a little bit about them more leading up later in the show about what they can look forward to for next year and some of these players that are going to have really good growth and development. And the final thing I want to say is happy birthday to the head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos, Scott Barney, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday to Barnes. And let's get rocking. It's a big show.
That's a good birthday shout out, considering he's your boss.
Yeah.
And a great article on him on the score also. Check that out. Really well. It went in depth, Rory. You were saying that somebody reached out to you about that?
Yeah, Nick there from the Score. Yeah. Great article done by him.
So check out the Score app and website or whatever. Great piece on Scott Barney.
All right, let's get right into it. We'll start with Friday night's games in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. That was the great part about the first round of the SJHL postseason. We didn't have any sweeps in the first round of the playoffs. But Friday, 4 Game 5s on the schedule, and the Battleford's North Stars advanced to the second round thanks to a 7-4 win over Weyburn. Humboldt did the exact same thing with a 6-2 win over Nipawin. The Estevan Bruins going on the road, winning 2-1 in Flon in Game 5 in overtime, and Melfort winning 2-1 in overtime at home over the Laurent Ice Wolves. Then last night, a pair of Game 6s, one series ended as the Melfort Mustangs, a massive win on the road in Laurent, winning 8-2, and then the Flin Bombers forcing a Game 7 Tuesday night with a 4-1 win on the road in Estevan. And of course, all of our lookbacks are presented by Sask Lottery. So lots to get into, but let's start with some of the teams that punched their tickets to the second round of the playoffs. We'll start with the Battleford's North Stars. Winning the series 4-1 Neugsy. I guess just your overall thoughts on Battleford. Obviously a slow start a little bit in Game 1, but then they win 4 straight over the Weyburn Red Wings.
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Ty Mason.
Yes.
Western Michigan D1, great program in Western Michigan. So really happy for Ty. I think, a lot of people maybe picked Battleford to sweep the series without a lot of trouble, and kudos to Weyburn. They made it tricky on them. I wondered, to you guys, aloud to others too, if putting all the eggs in the Daza Mitchell basket, not because there's anything wrong with Daza, very good goalie, and he had a great first 3 games of the series, but I wondered if a young kid would run out of gas, and it looked like he did, at least a little bit from the outside, in net, and eventually I think as a team maybe Weyburn did. There was, if you look at the goals that Battleford started to score, a lot less back pressure, a lot less sticks on sticks in the blue paint, that kind of thing. And if you make life easy for the Battleford's North Stars, it's going to be a long night. Kean Bell with 7 goals on the series, Jake Southgate 10 points, Holden Dole 9 points. La-di-da, those 3 guys lead the playoffs in scoring. I don't think anybody's too surprised about that, especially in the fantasy hockey draft we have going on here. They're a big part of it. Daz had one absolutely brilliant game there, 43 of 45 saves in Game 3, but I don't think the Stars, the Wings were maybe the same after that. And the last thing, I'll say is, Josh Cote, there was, I think, about 10 shots that the Wings kind of got from kind of that home plate, that sort of 0.2 to 0.5 expected goals area on this in the series, and he stopped 7 of those 10. So Josh Cote, in layman's terms, in really good form as well. So again, if Josh Cote is on, it's tough, and Tynan Ewart and Jordan Gibbs did a great job with Ty Mason and his line, and Riley Morgan. And I think one of the questions that I had was, does Battleford have a true shutdown pairing that they can just throw out there against the other team's best and really stop them? And Tynan Ewart, Jordan Gibbs did an unreal job together. They're obviously 2 great defensemen in our league, but did a great job.
Roy, your thoughts?
Yeah, not surprised that Southgate, Dole, and Bell are right among the top scorers. And if Battleford, if any team didn't need a wake-up call going into the playoffs, it was them. Weyburn gave it to them in the first game. Yeah. Then it was just too much to handle, right? 100%. We know their depth. They have like 9 players with at least 4 points in the 5 games, right? If it's not the top line, Steven Kessler will burn you. Bradley Blake will come. The young Jackson Allen. We just knew that offense would be too much for Weyburn to probably handle at this time in where they are in their development. But I'm not taking away from anything they did. They battled a team out of the playoffs, looking in, fought hard, and then even down in that game 5, when you're losing 4-1 with 6 minutes left in the second period, down 3-1, it's tough, right? But then 100%. They rattle off 2 straight goals and they're back within 1. So they never gave up, but it's just the wave after wave after wave of the Battleford's attack, Cote backing them, the defense he mentioned. And I'm not really surprised. I think it was just too much for Weyburn to handle with where they are right now. But that's what we expected. And Battleford, after losing the first game, took care of business, rattled off 4 straight.
Yeah, and Battleford's off to the second round of the playoffs, so waiting to figure out who they're going to play in the second round of the postseason. And we'll talk more about Weyburn going into next season coming up later on the show. Moving on, let's talk about the Humboldt Broncos. They did the exact same thing that the Battleford North Stars did. They punched their ticket to the second round, a dominant win in Game 5, winning the series in 5 games, Rory. When you look at the series as a whole, obviously Humboldt was extremely dominant at home in that series. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at that series, what was the difference?
Special teams, 100% you got to think that's the largest weapon and discrepancy between the two teams. Humboldt now first place in both regards, 36% on the power play. Tough to win games, right?
Very tough.
And then 19 of 20 on the PK, 95%. So they weren't giving anything up either. That's the first takeaway. And then again, just like the North Stars, the depth kind of proved to be a factor as well. Nipawin, they're feisty, they skate, they're hard to play against, especially in the cage. But the Broncos, when they're down 2-0 going into the third, in Game 4, they find a way to come back. It was their depth. It only took them 4 games to have every single skater register at least a point.
Yeah,
that's their depth, right? Yeah. So I think, and the playoff experience is another one where these two teams are very similar in age. Nipawin 18.68, Humboldt 18.82. So very, very similar. However, the Broncos have 82 games of playoff experience. Nipawin had 0. So that's a large asset for the Humboldt Broncos. They leaned on it. Special teams goaltending was huge. And then, home ice, they were really, really dominant in the EPA, the only undefeated team at home throughout the first round so far. So, but that's how you mentioned it. Those are the most key components in playoffs, and the Broncos, they had it all in spades.
100%.
Yeah. Well, to your point there, Rory, 6 guys with 2 goals or more for Humboldt in that first round. And they put up good numbers on the Hawks offensively, so that's a big part of it. But the only team other than Humboldt to have 6 guys with 2 goals or more is the Melfort Mustangs, and they did play a whole other game, and that last game was an absolute shellacking. So, the Broncos, again, to your point, showing what they can do. I mean, if you're 36% on the power play in a series, you're probably winning it. Yeah. Like, that's just like, I'm not trying to sound like a genius there, right. But from the Nipawin side, and I know you want to talk about moving forward, but boy oh boy, I'm so excited. I love the young kids, I love the prospects. Ronan Buckberger, obviously he and his big brother Braxton got to play together. Love that little story there for Nipawin. And Ronan is a guy that I know. I talked to the Swift Current Broncos head coach Devin Prott this morning a little bit about him, because he's a Swift Current Broncos prospect too, and he said, we love him too. It just it's a matter of whether he wants to be a Nipawin Hawk or a Humboldt or a Swift Current Bronco and all that. But he's got a lot of tools at whatever level that he wants to be. If he wants to be a D1 defenseman too, I love when young guys get a shot like that. And Ronan took it. I think, Rory, you would agree in the series. Yeah. Really impressed with him.
When he came in Game 3, he was listed as a forward, but it's just the way the lineups kind of look. He was the 7th defenseman, right, in the lineup. In the first 8 minutes, leading the power play, playing heavy minutes, right? Like, they really trusted Ronan. He had 3 assists in that game, the Nipawin Hawks victory. He's an electric talent on the blue line. So if Nipawin can get him to come, they're getting Braxton Buckberger back. McGuire Ratzlav's now a 20-year-old. Joel Mabin going to be coming back, right? Xander Stewart. There's so many. They're good. They're going to be fine. Yeah. And Ronan Buckberger was a nice little addition to see there culminate his season in the playoffs playing with his older brother, and he did not look out of place place. He was good. He was really good.
And similar to what you said, Rory, though, earlier on, like kudos to both Weyburn and Nipwin to get back into the playoffs, because I remember at the beginning of the year we were talking about, first off the parity and obviously in the SJHL, but we talked about how many new teams would make the playoffs, and we were like, well, it's not about how these teams that missed last year, how they improved. It's about who's going to drop off. So kudos to both Weyburn and Nipwin to get back in the playoffs, and both those communities, honestly, like for their playoff games, it was electric and exciting to see. Moving on to the other series, the final series that ended. This one ended yesterday, and a bit of a surprising result. Melfort winning 8-2 in La Ronge. They win the best of 7 series in 6 games. However, the first 5 games of this series, guys, I mean, it was extremely low scoring, extremely tight. Both goaltenders were outstanding. And then yesterday, Nugsy was a bit of an anomaly because there was an 8-2 win for the Melfort Mustangs, where they scored 5 power play goals.
Yeah, three wins in a row too for Melfort to win it. It was 2-1. The series was for La Ronge. Remember at one point, but I think about what we've talked about all year with this Melfort team. Their decor is stacked, and if they could play like Trevor Blevins wants them to play on that line between hyper aggressive, smothering, but also picking your spots and being in good positions and that kind of a thing, then they are hard to beat. They are as good as anybody. And again, you look deeper into the data, the Melfort Mustangs had double the amount of great scoring chances over the course of this series.
Right.
They had 14 great chances sort of from that home plate, from that high expected goal spot, to 7 for La Ronge. Now, part of that, I think, too, is La Ronge, has given me some Battlefords from last year vibes in that, we're going to talk about maybe eliminated teams later, but they got a lot of guys that can be back that are key guys, for this Ice Wolves team. But it was hard for them to get into the middle against Melfort. It was hard for them to generate offense. Joel Favreau was as good as he needed to be over the course of the series. He only allowed 2 of those 7 goals from that home plate area. So he made the saves he needed to. But yeah, I mean, Melfort, proved anybody wrong that said, can they buy into Trevor Blevins' style that he wants? They bought in this series. Yeah, it was tight for a lot of it, but Melfort, really carried a lot. I think Dawson Smith deserves a lot of kudos for making this series as tight as it was.
Yeah, I think the one thing that stands out to me, and I want to ask Trevor Blevins about it, is how big that comeback was in Game 2 of that series. It's a totally different series if 100%. Melfort doesn't rattle back and win it in overtime, right? They won more of the close games. They found the blowout in the game where they needed to in La Ronge. La Ronge averaged 25 shots on net through 6 games. It's not enough, right? It's not enough, especially with that defense. You got to think 18 of them are coming from the outside. That's not enough high-grade scoring chances. As Nugsy said, Melfort had a lot of them. La Ronge didn't have really anything there. And then when Joel Favreau's on his game, you got to make his life miserable in front of the net, right? He's one of the most entertaining goaltenders to watch in making the remarkable saves. But if you don't get secondary opportunities, you're not going to score on him, right? Because can he put himself out of position sometimes? Sure. But he's going to make those remarkable saves. Him and Cam Herdlick are the best 2 in the league at it, in my opinion, right? I don't think they made life miserable enough for Joel Favreau. Definitely wasn't enough shot output thanks to the Melfort Mustangs defense. And then that comeback win in Game 2. I think those were the 3 kind of dictating factors of the series. But yeah, La Ronge, it was a little bit of a bad game in a game that they knew they needed to win in Game 6, right? Kind of a snowball kept building for the Melfort Mustangs, and it was one they couldn't slow down as it was going down the hill.
I want to go back to Game 5 because I think that kind of provides good evidence of some of the points that you guys are making, because how well Melfort is defensively with that D group and, of course, Joel Favreau in between the pipes. But after 40 minutes of play, they had only allowed 12 shots on goal by the La Ronge Ice Wolves. In total, 21 in regulation. And being at that game, they probably only allowed 2 high-quality scoring opportunities. So not only are they difficult to obviously get chances against, but when they have the last change and have at the Northern Lights Palace, it's even more difficult. It's shown in this series.
Yeah, it's a tricky puzzle.
Yeah, and then, sorry to interrupt you, Rory. One thing that we talked about previewing the series was, what would the special teams in this series look like? Right. Who would have the upper hand? We knew how good Melfort's special teams were all year. They were both phenomenal in PK power play, but there seemed like there was a bit of a bugaboo. It looked like La Ronge had something on them. But what happened, La Ronge went 4 for 27 on the power play, 14.8%. When you're having a hard time generating good scoring chances in the playoffs, how do you score? You take advantage of the 2 or 3 power play chances that you get.
Right.
And, L'Orange didn't do it. And the flip side, the only team that was better on the power play was the humble Broncos than the Melfort Mustangs. 31.8%. Boy, was the Melfort power play cooking. You were there a bunch, Jeromy. They were zipping it around nice. Better than they have all in the regular season. That really says a lot. If you go to the playoffs and you peak, your special teams peak in the playoffs. I think Trevor Blevins is. We're going to talk to a happy man here real soon.
This isn't really any anomaly, I don't think. Yeah. But again, it goes back to the point. Special teams are one of the hugest factors in the playoffs. If Flin Flon closes it out at home in 7, the top 4 power plays will be advancing to the second round.
There you go. Well, let's talk about that series, the one that hasn't ended. And that's because the Flin Flon Bombers forced a Game 7 last night with a 4-1 win on the road at Affinity Place. And after, almost 2 years of hockey between these two teams in the playoffs, we go back-to-back games of the road team winning, which we were talking about after Game 4. Was a road team ever going to win in this series? And now we get back-to-back games. And you know what? I talked to Mike Reagan after the game. It's really only fitting that these two teams go to Game 7 once again.
This series is over if it's not for Cam Herdlicka, right?
100%.
He stops 101 of 102 shots.
In 2 games.
In 2 games,
Yeah,
including 66 saves on the road in Flin Flon to give Estevan, that 3-2 lead, playing back at home, wanting to capitalize. Then Flin Flon comes right back and shocks us again with 2 new players back into the lineup in Dupro and Tremblay. How hard are they going to be? Are they going to be able to keep up? They both score a goal, right? And they pick up 100%. A road win. So it's just wild the way this series is developing, and now into Game 7 to no one's surprise at all. But without Herdlicka, I think it's over in 5, right? And then with those 2 guys coming back, it was a really nice jump to the Flin Flon Bombers to bring it back home. Now Estevan's going to have to try to do the unthinkable again, is win in the Whitney Forum. It's a hard task, but this series has had everything.
Well, and I interviewed Mike Reagan after the game, which you can find on the SJHL Twitter page. And I asked him about the additions of Dupro and Tremblay coming back to the lineup. Obviously, they both scored a goal, but not only was that the big boost, it was more of a morale boost because you could see that the Flin Flon Bombers had an extra pep in their step last night. Getting those 2 guys back in the lineup in a do-or-die game, it made a big difference, not just of them scoring the goals, but the energy level around the team.
Great. That's it, right? Like the energy level was a key thing. I called Game 4, did color for Nolan Cole there, and the Flin Flon Bombers, God bless them, their effort level top to bottom, no matter who's in the lineup, they try as hard as they can for Mike Reagan. But you put in guys. You're putting Brett Galenchin, you're putting even Alexi Silvestri, as good as he is, in minute brackets that they're not used to during the regular season. With all those guys out, you're saying, hey, we need you to play a lot more. So that's not easy to play at your best when you've played that many minutes. And there was just nothing in the tank, it looked like, in Game 4 for Flin Flon. Even though, Cam Herdlicka had 35 saves and a shutout and he was marvelous and whatever, there wasn't that many great scoring chances out of those 35. So, he made the saves he needed to make. Obviously, the 66 out of 67 in Flin Flon was insane.
Crazy.
And that was a different story. He made all sorts of beautiful scoring chances there. To your point, that energy element was something that the Flin Flon Bombers especially found in the first 12, 13 minutes of the second period there yesterday. You were there too, Jeromy. And it seemed like Flin Flon had found another gear there, and a big part of it was knowing that even if you're generating a scoring chance, who's it going to fall to? The guy who has confidence, like a Cole Dupro, like a Jeromy Tremblay. These guys are premium players in our league. They've got premium player confidence to put that puck in the net, with no disrespect to a Brett Galenchin, or a Liam Bridger. These are going to be great players in our league for a long time, but these guys are older players who have a lot of confidence, D1 commits, going places. Like, they had that confidence to put it home, and that's what kind of happened in Game 6 in the second period, especially there for Flin Flon. And Game 7 though, who knows?
Well, speaking of confidence, just my last point is, if this series does go the same as the finals and every home team team is winning. It goes to Flin Flon in Game 7. Where's the confidence of the Estevan Bruins, right?
Yeah.
They've gotten it done now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it was backed by a marvelous performance by their
100%.
goaltender. They're going to clean up some of those chances.
100%.
You can't do that again and expect him to save 66 or 67. But the confidence that they can win is now there in that building. That's huge.
Well, so here's some stats for you then, Rory. There's 10 wins in a row for Estevan at Affinity Place in the playoffs. That was broken there in Game 6. I'm not going to mention who beat them. And then Flin Flon at home in the playoffs were 14-0-2 since Nipawin beat them March 21st, 2018. So they hadn't lost in regulation at the Whitney Forum since March of 2018 before Cam Herdlicka did the. Well, I guess they still didn't win in regulation because Cody Davis beat them in overtime. Yeah. But that being said, it's been a while since that Flin Flon has lost in regulation. But who cares? The question right now again is, I don't know how much we're going to preview this the Game 7, but the attrition is kind of tough, and it's interesting that Nick Saragella, the Estevan color guy, kept mentioning it's like the Flin Flon Bombers have gotten healthy as the series have gone on, and the Estevan Bruins have gotten more hurt as the series has gone on. Mitch Koner and Ilya Chmielewski, how healthy are they going to be for Game 7? And I think Jaden Mercier is probably going to be out for a while, but Cole Dupro looked great as you mentioned there, and boy, that's a huge guy to add at this point in a Cole Dupro. Man, even if his shot isn't as good as it, was, it's still a laser. Like, he can finish.
And I know we got to get to Trevor Blevins here, but how many coaches are watching this Game 7? Because the top two teams in the league right now, their travel goes exponentially larger depending on who wins.
100%.
If Estevan wins, Humboldt goes 50 minutes down the road to Melfort. If they lose and Flin Flon wins, Humboldt's got to go all the way up to Flin Flon. And if
same with Battleford.
If Estevan wins, Battleford has to travel to Estevan instead of Melfort, which is much closer.
And
so
it would be the third.
That is huge.
It would be the third year in a row that Humboldt and Flin Flon would face off too.
Well, we will dive into all the scenarios of what happens after Game 7. We'll preview Game 7 later on in the show. But after the break, we'll be joined by head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins, get his thoughts on their win last night, them advancing to the second round in the series as a whole. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sastel.com/fresh start.
My name is Kyle McIntyre and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
Get red and ready with Case IH and Young's equipment. From Case IH combines to MacDon headers, Young's carries all the best in new or pre-owned harvest equipment. With field-ready, industry-leading equipment and highly dedicated service staff, we're here when you need us most. Come experience our award-winning service for yourself and visit youngs.ca to find your nearest Young's equipment location.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca. Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are watching the show from. And we're going to head to the video chat line where we're pleased to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins. Trevor, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it. How's it going?
Pretty good day today. Absolutely. We've got a pretty happy group here.
Yeah, no kidding. I can only imagine. Well, last night, an 8-2 win on the road to secure your spot in the second round of the playoffs. I mean, overall, it looked like a pretty complete effort from your hockey club.
It really was. We, I was kind of, I say that, we had the softest start I had in all 6 games, I think, for the first 6 minutes. They scored first, and Laurent had a lot of push in the first part of that period, and once we got the power play goal, I thought we took off running. It was an excellent effort. We just had a lot of more bites and a lot more jam, and when you play in that rink, you got to be real tough on pucks and pay the price. And I thought our guys did a great job to set it up for a third period that was pretty much on cruise control, really.
Yeah, for sure. Blevs, thanks for your time. When I called you on the bus to set up this interview, I figured you'd be in a good mood, so I was feeling good about it. I got to ask you, Blevs. We've talked all year, and I'm sure you've heard all year about this decor that you've assembled. That's one of the best, if not the best, in the league, and that bears out with the SJMJ Showcase. But when they're going as you want them to, what is it that they're doing? How do we know when we watch this decor that they're doing what you preach to them?
Well, if I shared that, Nugsy, I'd be giving away everything.
Okay, well.
No,
he got you there, Nugs.
I got you there, Nugsy. Hey, finally stumped you in an interview.
I can make something up.
I do it to Matty Barrett all the time.
Probably works more frequently with him.
Well, to be honest, the 4, even the 6 or whatever 6 we got in, like last night, we had Thornton and Wilderman in last night as 18-year-olds, and they did an excellent job. I thought they're, didn't look at a place and really stepped right in. A lot of our design, I guess, we do want to push our defense up the ice and we want them involved, but I think a lot to do with how we pick the team, right from Rick Oakes to, camp and how we scout. We just want active, mobile, skilled players. Size is maybe a bit of a thing we look for, to complement that, for sure. But our thing is we teach them how to play defense. The skilled part is either you have it or you don't really in a player. So we try and develop that way. Once we get them, we focus a lot on our defense and practice and in our development through the year. It's this position that needs a lot of attention, and we try and bring that every day.
Hey, Trevor, of course, congratulations for, advancing to the second round of the playoffs. You don't know your opponent yet, but you do know it'll either be the top seed North Stars or the second place Humboldt Broncos. How much did this opening round series against LaRange, who, as Harry Carey would say, they were up to snuff, right? They were no slouch to get through. How much did this series, do you think, prepare you guys for the way you need to play 60 minutes every game when now you're going to go up against either one of the top 2 teams in the regular season?
Yeah, you just sure can't take anything away from the LaRange Ice Wolves, and that's well said. They were great. They worked hard, they compete hard. They're physical, tough, but also that also I think when you look at them as a team, and what people don't recognize is how good they are system-wise. Kevin and Kyle do a great job. They were tight defensively. They were tough to get in and into the house and get quality chances. They block a lot of shots. Very few odd man rushes we had in the series. So we had to earn everything. And then when you throw Dawson Smith in there, he was excellent. I just never really seen a goalie carry a team like that too when they needed him at key times in a hockey game. So, with that said, we got a lot of respect for LaRange and how they played and the effort they put in. But going into the next round, it's going to be similar types, right? You got good goaltending on either side. You got, teams that pay the price and block shots and are stingy defensively. So, I think for us, getting through that and being able to be on top is a huge confidence builder for our group.
Trevor, I just wanted to ask you, you guys had great special teams during the regular season, but, to come into the first round of the playoffs against LaRange and get 7 power play goals, what does it mean for your hockey club to be clicking on the man advantage now going into the second round of the postseason?
Yeah, it's huge. I heard you guys talking earlier about how it is a key, no matter what part of the season, but it's probably magnified in playoffs. And we like where we're at. Our penalty kill may need to be a little bit adjusted, for sure going into whether it's Battleford or Humboldt, and the skill that each team has. It's got to be respected. But we definitely like what's happening on the power play. We've generated some quality chances, through the series. We've scored some key goals, but we also had a lot of possession time on the entry, which was huge. A lot of teams do pounce or, get you off that entry and get you, lack your setup. And I thought we got set up, for the most part, pretty consistently through the series. So, that was a huge positive for us going in.
Yeah, for sure. A big part of that and everything that you want to do, obviously Ben Tkachuk, is a big part of all of that. And I wanted to ask you, I guess, a question about leadership, Blevs. This series, one of the things that Rory actually was really appropriate in highlighting as an X factor was kind of this almost mano-a-mano matchup between Ben Tkachuk and Walker Jerome, two of the best captains, in this league. Just talk about, obviously knowing Ben as well as you do, but also watching Walker, for a series. How impressed are you the leadership and the character of those two guys in this series?
Well, when I look at LaRange, there was not just Walker. There's a few others that really came every day and came consistently. You had Strick over there too, and Trenton Curtis. That was a hard one for sure. To make that trade, but he flourished over there, and so their 20-year-olds really stepped up 100%. And when you speak to Walker, like he was a pivotal guy. He had some big points, got some key opportunities, and you could tell that their forward group was really, really dialed in. And it was tough. It was tough on us physically. I'm not sure that we would have had enough bodies for Tuesday night, but we found a way to get it done last night. And we need the rest, and these next few days will heal up some big bruises. But with Ben Tkachuk and our leadership group, with Leith Olofsson and Clark Huxley and Dawson LaRue, they're the best, one of the best leadership groups I've ever had. Just how they handle themselves and carry themselves every day, and you can see how it filters through the rest of the team, and the guys really respect them. And when they come to the rink, they do the right things, and they lead by example. There's not a lot of lip service. It's more get at her and follow what I'm doing. So those guys have been excellent to deal with, and you can see through our group that it's really paid off in our leadership.
For sure. Just last question for me then, Blevs. Take me into your head onto the bench as much as you're willing, because clearly you don't want to tell us everything, and that's fine. Game Game 2, you guys are down 1-0 in the series. It's 2-0 L'Orange. Third period, Ben Tkachuk takes the puck out of the corner and feeds Huxley, and then scores one himself, and then you win in overtime. How much was a turning point in the series was that, that play by Ben, 5:50 into the third, taking out of the corner and kind of changing the narrative a little bit for the series? Just take us to the bench there.
Well, I could probably take you to the intermission first.
Sure.
Where I had my head on my desk thinking, how the heck is this happening right now? That's basically where it was at, in that intermission. But, full credit to our guys. They just stuck with it. No one got frustrated. Like, we had very little frustration level. Our mental toughness was through the roof. When you're throwing that many pucks with traffic and quality chances and Dawson Smith was unbelievable at keeping him in it. We never got away from the process. We just kept going, and everybody stayed positive. And again, when you talk about the leadership on our team, that was a big part of it. But I mean, every guy that was in the lineup in that game really bucked up, and it was huge. I mean, when we made it 2-1. I can even take you to the start of the period. We just were firing. We came out. We had lots of jam. Definitely, wanted it real bad. And I think that was a big key in the series, obviously. There's many turning points that probably could have happened, but to being down 2-0 or being 1-1 going back to L'Orange was definitely a difference maker. And again, for that to happen for us was unbelievable.
Trevor, I know you tune into the show sometimes, so now you're going to be the second coach ever to take part in Rory's Rapid Fire. I got a handful of questions for you because you are a coach and a lot of neat insight, so are you ready to rock?
I don't know whether to be scared or excited for this.
I think I'm going light on you. We'll find out. I mean, you could say next question. No one has.
You'll
before.
be fine.
You'll be the first to do that, though.
Yeah.
Take out your whiteboard. We want to hear all your systems.
Here's the thing, though. Like I'm a little bit concerned about the humble Bronco announcer doing all this with me.
There's no curveballs. No curveballs. League shirts on. Yeah, league shirts on. Let's stick with that game two.
Just fastballs.
Let's stick with that game 2 overtime win. In your coaching career, where would you rank that 1 to 10 and the biggest comebacks of your coaching career?
Ooh. That would be probably number 1.
Number 1, right up there. Okay, beautiful.
Just because it's fresh, but a lot to do with it's fresh. We, even when I think back to the championship years, we never really had a comeback that I could see. We almost blew a lead in Game 7 against Nipawin and in the 15-16 year, but never a real comeback like that with the urgency that I can remember.
Well, it's called Rapid Fire for a reason, so let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah, sorry.
Which player would most likely have his own reality TV show on the Mustangs?
Hayden Tuba.
Sorry, my headphones fell out. Who was that?
Hayden Tuba.
Hayden Tuba. What about a TV show or movie that you'd most want to guest appear on?
Suits.
All right, we call him Mr. Complete for a reason. Ben Tkachuk, over under 6 times this season. How many times have you had to show him video of something he's doing wrong on the ice? Because we just never see it that often.
Way over.
Okay.
Way over.
All right, a couple about bus trips. Are you a podcast, movie, music, book, or sleep guy?
Music.
Another one about a bus trip. If you had to have the same post-game meal for the rest of your career, what would it be?
Ooh. That's a tough one.
I'd say the roast beef dinner from Cravings in L'Orange.
Roast beef up in L'Orange. I got 2 about coaches. If there was a Royal Rumble WWE style over-the-top rope competition between the 12 coaches, who's winning it?
Me, for sure. I might be old. I might be old. I still got lots in the tank.
I know there's about 80%, 90.
Killer's too old now.
That's not what Craig Parrott at Notre Dame said.
Killer's too old now. I would have him 10 years ago, but we're good.
I know there's always good camaraderie between the coaches, but during the games, who are you most vocal with in terms of, maybe yapping at each other across the benches, trying to rile up teams, that type? What coach would stand out in terms of that type of interaction during a game?
Your boss.
Scott Barney? Beautiful.
Absolutely.
I thought that might be coming. And then the final one for me, you probably won't answer. You don't have to. Humboldt or Battlefords?
You got to beat everyone.
You got to beat everyone.
You got to beat everyone.
That's all I got for you, Jeromy.
Great answer. Trevor, well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on advancing to the second round, and best of luck with whoever you play in the second round.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the time.
That
You
is
do a
the
great
head
job,
coach.
by the way.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. That is the head coach and general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins. Always a great interview. Coming up after the break, we're going to announce some players of the week, and we will preview that Game 7 between the Flin Flon Bombers and the Estevan Bruins. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere, keeping you connected to your family and friends, to your history and culture, to those traditions that make us who we are. SaskTel cares, always has, always will, because we're dedicated to our home.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Coming in again, the Alpha. There comes the deep bar and then drilled it right through the pads. His 20th career deserving 2-minute penalty right off the bat.
There was a time when safety in hockey was an afterthought. Thankfully, times change. This is not the reality anymore on the ice. It shouldn't be here either. The SJHL is proud to partner with SCSA to spread the message of safety to help ensure that today and tomorrow are as safe as they can be.
My name is Kyle McIntyre, and I'm the commissioner of the SJHL. We have 12 teams spread out all over this amazing province. 12 teams that hit the road for combined 324 season games. We take hockey players, we make them better. We make them better at hockey and better at life. That's what the SJHL is all about. We have a great league, we have great teams, great ownership, the best fans, the best partners, and the best sponsors.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca. Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Nugsy, Rory, and Jeromy. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you're watching and across all the social medias. Before we get into Players of the Week, we're going to kind of segue into hopefully a new segment for next year. Maybe Nugsy's News and Notes. And Nugsy, you got some news for us.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just love commitments. I think that's what a big reason why we're here is to promote 100%. Kids, to get them to where the next level. So I want to talk about them quickly. Mentioned Ty Mason to Western Michigan, a great commitment. Antoine St. Ange from Notre Dame committed to Fredonia. They have a couple Notre Dame kids already there in Logan Dick and Curry Woodford. Yorkton Terriers fans will also remember Curry Woodford as a great player for them a couple years ago. And Cole Dupereau, I don't know if we mentioned it last show or not. We were trying to rack our brains. We apologize if we mentioned it already, but always worth talking about a D1 commit. Cole Dupereau, we were talking about when is this finally going to happen. Committed to Lindenwood along with his buddy there, Jaden Mercier, Andrew Kuzma. So there's a couple commits. And then the last thing, segment of Nugsy's News and Notes. We love it. Rory and I talked about it last year on the show. The National Aboriginal Hockey Championships, Team Sask was listed. Yorkton's Pavel McKenzie was a key player for the Terriers this year. Carter McKay, he's back as well. The Melville Millionaires and a whole bunch of guys. Shaden Duliak, who played, I believe, for Humboldt in that last game of the year, and a bunch of other guys who are going to be regulars in Team Sask Canada Winter Games. Connor Bear, who's a very highly thought of prospect of the Calgary Hitmen, outstanding player. Played in the SJHL. Also for Team Saskatchewan, they won the silver medal last year with Ty Mason and Zach Summers, and as well as Carter McKay and a bunch of other guys. And so it's awesome, great tournament, and Saskatchewan always shows well. So May 7th to 13th in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and hope they kick butt.
And congratulations to all the players named to the team. And to go back to the commitments, of course, all the commitments in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League are sponsored by Direct West. And if you want to see all the Direct West commitments for 2022, 2023, be sure to head to the SJHL website and see the commitment page. All right, let's hand out some Players of the Week, guys. And for the first time all season, we have a player winning 2 of the awards, but I think it's pretty well deserved. Winning SGEU MVP of the week and SaskTel Goalie of the Week. There it is on the screen. Cam Hrdlicka of the Estevan Bruins. And I want to go back to Rory, your point when we were talking about this series between Estevan and Flon. Quite frankly, if it wasn't for Cam Hrdlicka, this series would be over and we'd be already talking about the second round playoff series.
Yeah, it could have been over a lot sooner, but this is the guy that's been, the backbone of the Estevan Bruins. Yeah. Throughout the whole season, for sure, we knew with his record last year, he'd be a talented guy coming in. Boston below us went the run throughout the playoffs, though. He's proving he was no secondary option. He was a 1B all along. And stopping 66 of 67
Unreal.
To win on the road in the Whitney Forum. He's going to have to do something miraculous again coming up tomorrow night in Game 7. Right. But if there's any goaltender that can, it's Cam.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Nugsy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Rory hit it. I mean, so
I agree.
We I don't know how much we'll preview Game 7, but the team has proven that they can play a system that keeps shots to the outside and lets Cam see the pucks, not turn the puck over. That gives them a chance in Game 7, gives Cam a chance to save the pucks. But you Rory hit the nail on the head. He's been unbelievable. He and Dawson Smith, just whatever happens in this first round, we're not going to forget their performances this first round. They were unbelievable.
100%. So congratulations to Cam Hrdlicka, SGEU MVP of the week, and SaskTel Goalie of the Week. Moving on to Direct West Rookie of the Week, returning to the lineup and having a huge impact. David Ryu of the Melfort Mustangs, Nugsy, 3 goals, 2 assists, and a big performance in last night's 8-2 win. He had 4 points.
Yeah, leading the playoffs in point per game as a rookie at 4 points in that clinch in Game 2 and the first goal in Game 5. And yeah, you say they won 8-2, just piling on points. No, he scored the 2 goals that opened the floodgates for Melfort. So they were, 3 critical goals in the final 2 games of that series as well. He won a big face-off, went hard to the net in the 2-1 hockey game there, a tight one there in Game 5, and then 2 goals 4 minutes and 20 seconds apart early in in the second period, as I said in Game 6, to open the floodgates. He's a guy that's really stepped in when veteran guys on Melfort this year have dealt with some injuries, and boy, oh boy, he looks like he's going to be a player for them, the rest of these playoffs, but also moving forward. Great last couple games for David Ryu.
And you know what? During the playoffs, we always see players stepping up, and obviously David Ryu already stepping up for the Melfort Mustangs as they advance to the second round. So congratulations to David Ryu, Direct West Rookie of the Week. And finally, Rory, Super U Defenseman of the Week. We go back to the Estevan Flin Flon series, and at the beginning of the series, obviously, we talked about all the injuries for the Flin Flon Bombers, but their D-core stepping up and Corey King playing a big part, 3 assists this week.
Yeah, what never changes about the Flin Flon Bombers is their defensive play. We talk about how offensively gifted they are, but it's the hardest team. You can group in with the Melfort Mustangs to get any secondary opportunities against. They box out their goaltender, let them see the puck first, and then clear away any secondary opportunities. So it's all systems go for the Flin Flon Bombers defense. When a guy like Corey King, Lucas Fry can chip in a couple of points here and there, that's what they look for. But we give praise, to the Melfort Mustangs and their defensive system. I think we maybe miss Flin Flon and how good they are in their own zone.
Yeah, go ahead, Nugent.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Corey King. Obviously a real experienced guy. He was really, really good for Flin Flon last year in the finals too, when he dealt with a few injuries. But his play to set up Silvestri on the 2-on-1 that turned into a beautiful goal. That was an awesome play. Like you say, was that a bad line change by Estevan? I guess so, but the play that he made, Owen Barrow chips it up the boards, grabs it, puts it down, chips it up the wall to Silvestri. That was an unreal play by Corey King too. So, big time kudos, and he deserves it.
So congratulations to Corey King, Super U Defenseman of the Week. So in recap, SGU MVP of the Week and SaskTel Goalie of the Week is Cam Hrdlicka, the Estevan Bruins. Direct West Rookie of the Week, David Ryu of the Melfort Mustangs, and Super U Defenseman of the Week, Corey King of the Flin Flon Bombers. Guys, before we get into Game 7 between Flin Flon and Estevan, maybe let's just quickly talk about the seasons of the 3 teams that have been eliminated and the future moving forward for them. So let's start with we'll start with the Weyburn Red Wings. And it was an interesting season for them, I think, because at the beginning of the year, we weren't 100% sure exactly what this team was, but then they made some roster moves. And the second half of the year, they were one of the hottest teams in the SJHL, Nugsy. But I guess your thoughts on, the season as a whole for Weyburn and where you see them moving into next year.
Yeah, I always think it's good for kids to experience the playoffs, see what that's like, see how much better you have to be, how your habits earlier in the year have to ratchet themselves up for the playoffs. I think the best news for Weyburn is they had a good forward core, and they were like, how can our D-core piece together this year? Next year, I think it's kind of the opposite. They've got Blake Norris, who's turned into a premium defenseman in this league, Nick Kovacs, who's been great, Lucas Jeffries, when healthy, he's been great. Nolan Henderson, he's taken a big step. So those are 4 big D-men that Weyburn can have back next year. And of course, if Daza Mitchell's back, I don't see why not. Like, he could be one of the premium goalies in the league next year too. So, building off the back end is what GMs and coaches dream of. They're going to have to find some forwards, up front, but great start there to talk about the guys like Blake Norris. Might be one of the best, if not the best defenseman in the league next year. It could be.
And again, congratulations to Cody Mapes and company getting the Weyburn Red Wings back into the playoffs. Rory, I'll let you handle the Nipawin Hawks because you saw them in the first round of the postseason, obviously, but it looks like they have a bright future ahead.
Yeah, Tad Kozin has done an unbelievable job with the Nipawin Hawks, turning them around a lot quicker than a lot of people anticipated. 100%. And their pipeline is, it's going to be good and full coming up next year, right? Deegan will pass. I've seen he'd play some AAA. If he can make the team, he's a talented offensive threat. You got Carter Mason, who's played a few games this year. Then the returning 19-year-olds, Buckberger, Mabin, who am I forgetting? The captain, Ratzlav. Yeah. If they can, Xander Stewart. If they can get the younger Ronan Buckberger back, like Nipawin will be, they have a potential to be a top 4 team next year in the SJHL, bar none. So really bright future in Nipawin, and then getting the playoff experience back to a team that had 0 games going up against the Humboldt Broncos. That's huge for knowing what you have to do. But they're a fun run and gun, offensive, hit you, skate you, wear you down type of team. We know that they'll become a better defensive team as well with more experience in the league. But I love the Nipawin Hawks and what they're looking for in the future. It's bright.
The future future does look very bright in Nipawin, especially for next season. Nugsy, I'll let you take the Larange Ice Wolves, obviously losing a tough series in 6 games, a series that if you take away Game 6 was a nail biter between these two teams, but it seems like they'll have some good pieces coming back for next year.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Rory, on the show, we talked a lot about looking at this Battlefords team, and we're like, that team is going to be so scary in 22, 23, and they've been scary. Like, that's the Battleford. It's been scary. They're, so I almost feel it's going to be similar for Larange if they can hang on to some of these. You think about, McInnes, can he stay healthy? Casey Coyle, Parker Layton, Ryland Silzer on the back end. Dawson Smith, Topher Chirico can both be back in net. Dawson Smith can be back after being as dominant as he was, this year. He can be back. Mason Buchert, Jacob Kazette, these guys are going to be premium players in the SJ next year if they stick around. They are premium young Saskatchewan born and bred talents, and Jacob Kazette, a local kid too. So there's so many guys back. You talked about Battlefords last year, how good they were. They were good. They're built for this year. I feel like Larange is built for next year. Obviously with Walker Jerome and Connor Abruck, obviously those guys were great servants to Larange, not taking anything away from the 20-year-olds, Ethan Strick that they did have. But it's almost like Larange is like, we're going to be decent this year, pretty good this year, make a bit of a run, but next year it's showtime up at the Mel, and you better watch out for the Ice Wolves in 23, 24. You better.
Yeah, and they'll want to take the next step after losing in the first round the last 2 seasons for the Larange Ice Wolves. All right, let's talk a little bit about Game 7 tomorrow night. We've already kind of talked about this series as a whole, so I'll let you each take this a bit. What are your expectations going into Game 7, the Whitney Forum, tomorrow night between Estevan and Flin Flon? Rory, I'll let you go first.
It's going to be a great game. I can't imagine how tired both these teams are, right? They really haven't had a down day at home because the next day they're usually traveling back up or back down. So it's I'm sure they're really tired. I'm sure it's going to be a grinded out. Probably a mucky goal is going to win it, right? Because I trust both goaltenders. I trust Flin Flon's defense, right? So I'll look for the leadership on both teams. I'll look for the health of a couple of the all-stars for the Flin Flon Bombers. I don't know how much they have in the tank. They haven't played in a long time, some of them, right?
Fair point. Yeah.
But it's going to be packed in the Whitney Forum. It's just going to be a great Game 7, the only Game 7 in round 1. So all eyes will be on it, but I think it's going to be a battle for both teams that I'm sure are just wanting a little bit of a breather here after this series.
Newsy?
Well, I think the first 10 minutes of this game will tell you all you need to know about this game. Like, if the Estevan Bruins can make this game as ugly as humanly possible, kind of like they did in Game 7 of the finals last year, muck it up, play good, solid, safe playoff hockey, which they've proven they can do. Make it not easy for Cameron Lecca because nothing's going to be easy, but keep shots to the outside, limit second, third opportunities, all those things that we say. Then they absolutely have a chance just because they have the experience and the size, and Jason Starnick has proven that he can coach it. If they don't start on time, if the Flin Flon Bombers start the Avalanche 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes in, then sorry, Estevan, like it's going to be a long night for you. Right. And we've all been up there when the Flin Flon Bombers get their feet moving and when they're healthy, and that's a big piece of it. Attrition has been a bit of a problem. But I think, as I said, the first 10 minutes will tell you all about this game. If the Bruins can muck it up and stick in it, then there's a chance. Cameron Lecca is as good as anybody, but we'll see. It's a tall task. Both teams kind of have excuses. Whichever one throws out their excuses the fastest and starts on time is gonna walk away with Game 7. But I should say, last thing, sorry that I keep going on here. If you asked Estevan coming to the series, it's a 3v6. I wasn't one of the people, but a lot of people were like, Estevan has no chance. Flin Flon's going to roll over them, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't one of those people. I'm sure you guys weren't either, but there were people out there.
I said Estevan 6.
Yeah, I said Flin Flon in 7. Well, you did. Yeah, absolutely you did. So I think Estevan would take a 1 game off.
Sure.
If you start the series, you say 1 game off, Estevan and Flin Flon. Yes, it's at the Wit. I think the Bruins would take it.
I think if you're the underdog in a series and you're the lower seed, if you said to them at the beginning of any series, hey, well, Game 7, you get it.
It's March
Would you
Madness.
take it? 100%.
It's March Madness right now.
I'll give you a quick buy it or sell it question though, just to almost close out the show. Is the Whitney Forum, buy it or sell it, the most important building as the road team to get the first goal in the SJHL?
Yes.
You would buy it.
This
You
year,
talked about
this
the
year,
Avalanche.
or you mean all time?
You talked about the Avalanche. Just go this year, I guess.
This year it's the ACC.
All time it's the Wit?
But all time it's the Wit.
Okay, I'll give you a little flex option there.
That's a fair point.
enough.
Now, just to and I want to reiterate. So we don't know the matchups in the second round because of this series. So just to reiterate and explain it, if the Flin Flon Bombers win Game 7, the Melfort North Stars will play the Melfort Mustangs in the second round, and it will be the Humboldt Broncos against the Flin Flon Bombers. If the Estevan Bruins win tomorrow night, then the Melfort North Stars will play the Estevan Bruins, and the Humboldt Broncos will play the Melfort Mustangs. So lots to be determined in this last game of the first round of the playoffs presented by UPL. And it's going to be a great game up at the Whitney Forum. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. One final thing we want to get to before we wrap up the show today is last week we did our playoff pool draft. And it's been a busy week, but it's time to look at the standings so far, guys. So we'll pull up the standings, and there they are. So it looks like producer Clark, the voice, that we didn't even see him.
Wasn't even in the room.
He wasn't even in the room. He's leading with 34 points, followed by myself with 28. And Rory looks like he just passed Nugsy with 22. And Nugsy with 21.
Nugsy's had some injury troubles, though. I will give him that.
I
think he'd still be ahead of me if it wasn't for, maybe the injuries to Mercier and Vauclair now. So... but it's a long game, guys.
Yeah, it is.
It's a long game. It's a slow process. You just gotta stay within striking range.
Mm-hmm.
And but letting Holden Dole and Jake Southgate slip to the third and fourth and fifth pick of the draft was maybe a mistake on our
we
part.
can hear Clark clapping.
He got both of those picks with the serpentine draft order, and we might have messed up. But hey, that's what you do.
I also just want to point out too, because of the way playoff drafts are, no players have been eliminated yet.
No players have been eliminated.
No players have been eliminated yet.
And if Flin Flon does win, then
we're all good.
All be a full team heading into round 2. That is wild, yeah.
That is wild to think about. Nugsy, what's your quick thoughts?
Come on, Jaden. You're such a good player.
Oh yeah.
Just
come back.
All right.
The collision that he had there. I'm not gonna spill the beans. Didn't look good though.
Anyways, we're having fun with the playoff pool, and you can stay up to date with the playoff pool throughout the playoffs on our social media, where we'll continue to update the playoff pool standings. Before we go, I have to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors here at the SJHL for helping us put on these shows each and every week. Canterra Seed, SaskTel, Capital Auto Mall, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, which presents all of our coaches' conversations, like today with head coach and GM Trevor Blevins of the Melfort Mustangs, Chevrolet, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, SGI, SGU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, RBC. Thank you so much for your support. Of course, UPL, you can see it above my shoulder, currently presenting the playoffs. And another thing going on right now during the playoffs, of course, is the SJHL raffle, where you can win a brand new side-by-side. You may have seen the commercials during the show, but the deadline to get your tickets is less than a month away. So get your tickets today. The ticket sales have picked up. There aren't too many available just yet. So get your tickets now. SJHLraffle.ca. Tickets available until April 23rd. The draw is on April 27th. It is going to be a fun night tomorrow at the Whitney Forum as the Flin Flon Bombers play host to the Estevan Bruins. Guys, I think I'm going to need earplugs tomorrow night.
You're heading up to the Whit.
It is going to be loud up there.
100%.
It is going to be very exciting, though, as the Estevan Bruins take on the Flin Flon Bombers, Game 7. And, of course, stay up to date with everything in the SJHL across the social medias. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and that's where you can find all the highlights, of course, our shows, and our Sask Milk previews and post-game reports from the road during the SJHL postseason. So round 1 is almost in the books. Regardless, round 2 will begin on Friday. For Jamie Neugebauer, Rory McGouran, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.